This is Story Recapped. Today I'm going to explain a drama, sci-fi, and mystery film called Powder. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. A pregnant woman, Anna, is rushed to a hospital during a thunderstorm. Later, the doctor informs her distraught husband, Greg, that Anna didn't make it. The baby is safe, but he has albinism, a genetic condition that leaves a child without pigmentation, and his pale eyes are sensitive to light. Greg is taken to the baby, where the doctors hooked him to an EEG to measure his brainwaves. Greg sees his unusual appearance and cries, refusing to accept his baby. The EEG registers alarming rates of brain activity as the baby similarly gets distressed. Greg ultimately denounces the child, and as he's taken away, the crying baby's brainwaves go off the charts. 20 years later, the director of the local youth shelter, Jessie Caldwell, arrives at the home of a recently deceased man. Sheriff Doug Barnum asks for her help to retrieve what they believe is a man's grandson, hiding in the basement. Doug explains that the boy won't come out from the cellar, and they suspect that the child might have special needs, considering he didn't report his grandfather's death. The neighbors have also never seen him, so they must have kept him a secret. Cautiously, Doug and Jessie go down and find the boy crouched in the dark. The boy, Jeremy Reed, nicknamed Powder by his grandparents, explains how he tried to help his grandfather, but Doug assures him that he's in no trouble. Jessie coaxes him out, and when he steps into the light, both she and Doug are surprised to see the pale, hairless boy. Jessie asks Doug to get him something to eat and asks Jeremy why he didn't call anyone when his grandfather fell. Jeremy says his grandfather always said people would come to take him away if he's seen. Later, Jeremy tells Jessie he's never been to school, but he's read all the books in the cellar. Jessie grabs a copy of Moby Dick, commenting that college kids struggle through it. Jeremy asks her to pick a page, and when she does, he recites a paragraph from it. Jeremy tells her he knows all the books in his vast library, pleasantly surprising Jessie. Much later, Jeremy walks outside with Jessie and Doug. Police officers and neighbors stare in awe, and suddenly, radios and police sirens go off, seemingly affected by Jeremy's presence. As Jessie drives away with Jeremy, Doug notices the roof lined with several lightning rods. Another officer, Harley Duncan, informs Doug that the doctors found evidence of defibrillation on the old man, suggesting that Jeremy electrocuted his grandfather. Harley is spooked by Jeremy, but Doug only dismisses him. Driving through the city, Jeremy is amazed at the sights and plays around with the car windows. Jessie takes him to the youth shelter, where the other kids stop and stare at Jeremy as he passes by. Inside, Jeremy sits by Jessie's office as she arranges for him to be seen by an expert. The other kids peer through the windows, trying to catch a glimpse of him. At lunchtime, Jeremy sits alone to eat while everyone else stares. A group of teens approaches him, and one of them, John, teases him for his appearance. Jeremy doesn't engage, so John taunts him further by making Jeremy put a spoon at the end of his nose. Jeremy takes the spoon and repeatedly rolls his thumb over it, making it stand on its own. At once, all the other utensils around them are magnetized to Jeremy's spoon, creating a tower. Everyone is stunned, but a lone spoon flies off its rack and slowly approaches the tower on its own until the whole thing crumbles. Jeremy grins, pleased with this exhibition, but John is even more pissed. Later that day, Doug arrives home as his son, Steven, leaves the house. Steven calls out to him, but Doug pointedly ignores Steven as they pass by each other in their yard. Upstairs, the caregiver, Maxine, says Steven stayed a while, tending to his bedridden mother, Emma, and brought her a small silver box. As Doug feeds a weak Emma some ice chips, Maxine asks about the commotion at the Reed farm, expressing her disdain at the discovery of Jeremy. Doug doesn't say much, but he also doesn't share Maxine's contempt. The next day, a doctor confirms that Jeremy is in perfect health, so Jessie asks him if he'd like to go to school the following week. Jeremy's only concern is if his contact lenses will be ready before then. The following week, Jeremy comes to school, and everyone stares at him. In science class, Jeremy catches a girl, Lindsay, looking at him, while the teacher, Mr. Donald Ripley, explains a lesson on electric impulses. Donald then presents a machine called Jacob's Ladder to show everyone how electricity travels. The machine is turned on, and Jeremy gets distressed by it. A metal paper clip flies away from Jeremy's table, and his pen starts spinning in place. Donald continues talking as more electric currents rise higher and higher from the machine, and Jeremy trembles in his seat. Suddenly, an electric current shoots out of the machine and hits Jeremy in the chest, pushing him backward. Another current shoots from Jeremy and back to the machine, its intensity lifting him out of his seat. Donald kicks the plug off as Jeremy hangs in mid-air, but it doesn't work, so he grabs a wooden chair and smashes the machine. Donald reaches out to an unconscious Jeremy, and once he touches him, the hairs on Donald's arms stand on end. Later, in the hospital, Doug asks Donald about the incident, but the doctor doubts his story as Jeremy doesn't show any signs of electrocution. Donald continues talking and deduces that Jeremy is constantly experiencing electrolysis, hence why hair doesn't grow on him. A nurse then interrupts them with news that Jeremy has left the hospital. Jeremy walks through the town and befriends Lindsay's dog as he passes by her house. Lindsay comes out, and they talk about the incident in science class. Lindsay is genuinely friendly, making Jeremy open up and even tell her a joke. Lindsay comments on other people staring as they talk, and he tells her he's able to hear others' thoughts, but Lindsay doesn't take it seriously. Lindsay helps him with directions to the interstate and bids him a friendly goodbye as he continues on his way. Jeremy follows the railroad tracks until Doug and Harley intercept him. Harley approaches, masking his fear with aggression, but Jeremy can tell he's afraid. Doug tries to take him back to the hospital, but Jeremy wishes to return home instead. Doug offers to take him back to the shelter after the doctor assesses him, but Jeremy says that the shelter is not his home. Doug puts his foot down and makes Jeremy ride the car. As he's getting in, Jeremy divulges that he dislikes hospitals because the worst day he can remember was in one. Doug asks what day that was, and Jeremy replies it was the day he was born. Eventually, Jeremy is called to a meeting with the State Board of Education, along with Jessie and Donald. The head of the board, Dr. Stipler, asks if he's ever listened to the radio or watched television apart from his knowledge gained from books. Donald correctly guesses that he couldn't have, and demonstrates how electrical devices malfunction around Jeremy. Similarly, Jeremy is distressed by electrical devices. Dr. Stipler then says his IQ results were off the charts, and that they don't even have a classification for it yet. Sensing Jeremy's discomfort, Jessie tells him the board is in a position to help. Jeremy asks if they can help him return home, but Jessie regretfully tells him no, as the bank now owns his house. Dr. Stipler attempts to ask more questions about his scores, but the angry Jeremy tells him he knows that they only want to prove that he cheated on the test to make sense of his scores. Lights flicker in the room, and wristwatches go haywire, as Jeremy tells Dr. Stipler that he's only interested in going home. Soon, the power shuts down, and Jeremy walks out, passing through the halls. Metal locks in the lockers appear to be magnetized as he walks by, seething in rage. Eventually, Doug and Harley take the kids out camping. While the others are socializing by the bonfire, Jeremy sits on his own, away from everybody. Doug walks up to him, telling him Jessie only wants to help. A clap of thunder rumbles and Jeremy appears concerned, so Doug assures him that the storm is far away. However, Jeremy tells him that he can feel thunderstorms inside him, and lightning is drawn to him. Jeremy's grandmother told him that lightning was God, and that God took Jeremy's mother when she was struck by lightning while pregnant with him. Doug asks if that's what his grandparents told him, but Jeremy only tells him that he remembers it happening and leaves. The next morning, Jeremy walks deeper into the woods and finds a skink crawling nearby. Jeremy places a hand on the ground, and more skinks appear, seemingly drawn to him. Jeremy picks one up to observe closer, but the others suddenly scramble away. Jeremy calls out to John and Mitch, who are hiding behind the trees, trailing him. Jeremy notices John's gun, and John aims it at him. John continues taunting Jeremy, but Mitch, realizing John could actually fire, attempts to talk some sense into him. Suddenly, a shot goes off in the distance, and the three of them run off to its source. The gunshot came from Harley, who is boasting about his hunting skills while a doe is dying on the ground. Jeremy feels its pain, so he lays a hand on the deer, and when Harley comes to shove him away, Jeremy clamps his other hand on Harley's wrist. The doe's pain travels through Jeremy, reaching Harley, and with every twitch of the dying deer, Harley experiences its suffering and is soon overcome by it. The other kids panic around them, and John orders Jeremy to let go at gunpoint. Mitch raises the barrel as John fires, and Jeremy lets go. Harley crawls away, screaming, and it takes several boys to hold him down. The deer finally passes away and leaves Jeremy crying as everyone else stares. Back at the shelter, Jessie and Doug ask Jeremy what happened as the others accuse him of attacking Harley. Jeremy only tells him that Harley wasn't seeing what he was doing, so he opened him up and let him see. Doug isn't called away, and when he leaves, Jeremy vehemently tells Jessie that he wants to go home. Jessie tries to appease him, but the enraged Jeremy calls her out on pretending to be his friend. Glass frames shatter as Jeremy tells her a friend doesn't lock another up or take them away from home. lights erupt, and the glass panel on her office door bursts. Jeremy walks out, leaving Jessie shocked. Meanwhile, Doug gets home, where the doctor tells him Emma is hanging on through the worst pain in her life and suggests taking her back to the hospital. Doug declines as she expressed her wish to be home when she could still speak. The doctor urges Doug to let her go, and Doug thinks it over. That evening, Donald finds Jeremy alone and talks to him about the incident in class. He says that when he touched Jeremy, something happened that gave him the vitality to do things he hadn't been able to in a while. Donald tells him about Einstein's theory that if humans were to maximize their brain's capacity, they would be pure energy. Donald then theorizes that something might have happened to Jeremy that made him closer to that energy than anyone ever. Jeremy is uninterested, so Donald goes on to say that Jeremy might have a mind that humans won't evolve towards for a long time, that he is a future that's here right now. Donald then offers a hand in friendship, and when Jeremy accepts it, he plays a trick, making Donald's hair stand on end at will. Jeremy slowly opens up about how his grandparents were afraid to touch him, and Donald sympathizes, touching Jeremy's cheek and caressing his head while Jeremy breaks down. The next day, Doug visits Harley after learning that he got rid of his guns and backed out of a marksman tourney that he was passionate about. He worries that Harley might not be able to do his duty as a cop anymore as he refuses to carry a firearm. Harley regretfully explains that when Jeremy touched the deer and then him that day in the woods, he felt the animal dying. He couldn't explain it, but now, whenever he tries to hold a gun, he remembers that feeling and is traumatized by it. That evening, Doug asks Jeremy to help him communicate with Emma. They go to his house, and she stirs in her sleep when Jeremy touches her. Jeremy tells Doug she knows he's there, so Doug takes her hand and communicates with her through Jeremy. She wants Doug to remember the both of them playing in the snow with Steven and losing her wedding ring during a snowball fight. Doug continues the story of him and Steven digging through the snow all afternoon, looking for it. Emma begins crying, and Jeremy says she wants Doug to open the silver box Steven left days before. Doug opens it and finds the ring inside. Emma, through Jeremy, says Steven found it in the old house and knew that it was time to come home. She adds that she believes in miracles now, and that Doug should too. Emma calls Jeremy an angel that has come to take her home, but she won't leave this world until Doug and Steven reconcile. Doug puts her ring back on her finger as she requests, and Jeremy touches Doug's hand, letting him near Emma before she passes away. Shortly, Steven arrives, and Doug meets him on the porch, wrapping him in a tight embrace. Days after, Jeremy meets Lindsay at the fair and tells her people are wondering if he killed Doug's wife. Lindsay dismisses them and asks what people are like inside, to which Jeremy says most people feel separated from everything, although they're part of everyone and everything. Lindsay doesn't believe it at first, but Jeremy explains that, like his grandparents, she has a spot in her mind that she can't see past, making her feel separated. They touch hands, and, for a brief moment, share each other's thoughts and feelings. Lindsay becomes privy to Jeremy's pain, stemming from his father's abandonment, so he breaks off the connection. Jeremy asks if Lindsay thinks he's ugly like his father did, but Lindsay says he has the most beautiful face she's ever seen and kisses him. Jeremy leans in for another kiss, and they do it again. However, Lindsay's father sees him and gets angry, manhandling Jeremy as he berates him. Jessie comes in time before he hurts Jeremy. He then takes Lindsay away after threatening Jessie with a lawsuit. Distraught, Jeremy packs his things and leaves to return to the farm. Before he leaves, he hears the boys playing basketball in the gym and goes inside to watch. But Jeremy is distracted by a boy washing himself. John sees Jeremy and accuses him of peeping. John taunts him once again by taking his hat and calling him names. Jeremy reaches for the hat, but John blocks him. And when he does, Jeremy gets access to John's repressed memories of his stepfather beating him up when he was younger. Enraged, John pushes Jeremy against the wall and threatens to kill him. Just then, thunder rumbles, and sensing Jeremy's fear, John and the others take him outside and rips his clothes off. John ridicules his pale skin and pushes him onto a muddy puddle. John continues to insult Jeremy to the point where he's so riled up that he unleashes a strong force, sending everyone flying backward. Rain starts to pour, and the others get up, except John. Mitch checks up on him and discovers his heart has stopped beating. Jeremy puts his clothes back on, lays his hands on John's chest, and defibrillates him several times until he is revived. Mitch then helps him get away, and Jeremy stowaways on a truck heading to the farm. Jeremy reaches their old house and finds that everything has been taken away. Jessie arrives shortly after and finds Jeremy in the empty cellar. She consoles Jeremy, promising him that she'll find a place fit for someone as beautiful as him, and wraps him in an embrace. Donald also arrives, ready to take them both away. Just as As they're leaving, Doug and Harley arrive to arrest Jeremy. Jessie and Donald talk some sense into Doug to let him go, but Harley insists on taking Jeremy. As a thunderstorm approaches, Jeremy is drawn to walk into the fields. He tells Doug that his wife didn't go someplace because he felt her go out everywhere. Donald quotes Einstein, and Jessie smiles at Jeremy sadly before he rushes to the middle of the field. Harley gives chase, and they all run after Jeremy. As he's running, a bolt of lightning strikes Jeremy in the chest and continues to feed him energy. Soon, balls of energy form on Jeremy's limbs, and he disappears in a blinding flash of light. The four are left in shock as Jeremy finally attains freedom.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.